Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news: William and Catherine's Windsor move revealed by Princess Anne. The Queen's hidden mandate. Everyone in the UK wants Prince William and Princess Catherine to be king and queen of the kingdom one day. The audience was always curious about what had happened beyond the Windsor door when they moved. Many individuals had secrets and speculations concerning King Charles, Camilla, and the future king and queen. According to an insider, Princess Anne told the late queen the secret of Catherine and William's relocation, which was the first prerequisite for her to become queen. This let out a lot of the royal family's secrets. In this video, we will learn something. In the summer of 2022, the Prince and Princess of Wales, who were then known as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, relocated their family from Kensington Palace in London, where they had lived for a long time, to Adelaide Cottage on the Windsor estate. The family's desire for more privacy and a more traditional upbringing for their three children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, who soon started attending the nearby Lambrook School, was made public as the main reason for this move. Recent reports and statements from those close to the family say that this move was the first planned step in a long-term strategic plan for the future of the British monarchy. These sources say that this move may have meant more than just a personal choice on how to live. The late Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, came up with and approved the plan, which some people call a coronation blueprint. It is currently being put into action in phases that are being measured. According to those close to the royal family, further details about this scheme came to light during private conversations with Princess Anne, often known as the Princess Royal. Reports say that she told them about the contents of a long-standing family mandate that named William and Catherine as the best people to take care of the crown in the next generation. This mandate, as it was framed, laid forth a vision for their possible reign that put stability, relatability, and a modern view of civic duty that nonetheless honors traditions at the top of the list. People have seen the Wales family's planned move from the small 4-bedroom Adelaide Cottage to the larger 8-bedroom Forest Lodge, which is also in Windsor Great Park, as not only a practical upgrade for the family, but also as the next step in the plan. Windsor Great Park is home to the Forest Lodge. This concept says that the move is a step toward something else. It is a physical and symbolic change that is meant to get the Prince and Princess of Wales ready for the responsibilities and public image they will need to have when they become Prince or Princess of Wales. In this light, moving to Windsor is part of a bigger change in the royal family's duties that is happening, while King Charles III still has control over the family. The existence of a long-term, multi-generational strategy shows that the monarchy is trying to balance its historical continuity with a flexible response to the needs of the 21st century. This suggests that the succession process has been shaped not only by constitutional law, but also by careful family planning. So choices on where to live, how to set up the family home, and what kinds of public activities to focus on are all parts of a larger plan to give the next generation a secure and permanent crown. The royal family has had a deep and varied association with Windsor from the dawn of time. Windsor Castle has served as a fortress, a royal castle, and a powerful symbol of the continuation of monarchy for hundreds of years. It has been both a public platform for state rituals and a private refuge for sovereigns. It has also been a public place for state ceremonies. Windsor became Queen Elizabeth II's principal home and a place for her to get away from the busy political center of London and the public eye. It was a place where she could work and meditate in peace. It gave her a place to work and think in peace. Because she clearly liked Windsor and the way life worked there, it seems that the succession planning she and Prince Philip did together was much affected by this. It is crucial to think about using Windsor as a base for family life, since the castle has many meanings and is useful in many ways. Windsor not only makes people feel safe because of its big grounds and strict borders, but it also gives them a feeling of ceremonial grandeur and continuity. Its historical role is more than just making things easier for home use. Ceremonies held at Windsor create an image of national tradition that is hard to copy. Some of these occasions include investitures, burials, and state festivities that happen from time to time. Windsor's location outside of central London also helps keep the constant attention that comes with living in the capital city at bay. This is just as important. This specific combination of tradition, seclusion, and symbolic weight is precisely what attracted the late Queen and her partner as they contemplated the future of the monarchy. The Wales family moving into Adelaide Cottage for the first time in 2022 was a big difference from how royals usually lived, which was in huge palaces in the middle of London. Kensington Palace has been their main home since they were married. It included a lot of flats and formal offices that were great for business that required talking to people, but living in downtown London also meant that the couple was often in the public eye, which made their daily lives and, more significantly, the lives of their children highly public. People said it was a deliberate attempt to get the kids out of this continual public scrutiny, which is known as the goldfish bowl of capital life. The relocation to Adelaide Cottage was also meant to provide kids the sense of normality and independence that comes with going to a local co-ed prep school and living in the large, safe area of Windsor Great Park. However, palace sources made it seem like Adelaide Cottage was more likely to be a temporary home for the Wales family than a permanent one from the start. As Prince George II in line to the throne got closer to becoming a teenager, the family's demands for space and logistics were expected to shift. The cottage only had 4 bedrooms, so it didn't have enough room for a growing family or the infrastructure that would be needed to support the future king and queen's increasingly demanding public and administrative duties. Because of this, it was thought that a search would be made within the Windsor area for a bigger, more permanent home. People spoke about the Royal Lodge, which was then linked to the Duke of York and Frogmore House, which has its own long history with the family, as possible future homes for the royal family. In the end, the emphasis was on Forest Lodge, a home with 8 bedrooms that was placed within the protected area of Windsor Great Park. Several news outlets confirmed that the family planned to live there when the planned renovations and expansions were done. People were very interested in the renovations in issue since there had been controversies in the past about how much money was spent on royal houses and how they would be paid for. People say that the Prince and Princess of Wales would pay for the renovations on Forest Lodge with their own money so they wouldn't have to use public funds. This choice was taken to avoid criticism and to show that they were following an ethic of economic restraint. People have said that this choice is a direct response to earlier arguments over the taxpayer-funded modifications that were made to residences like Frogmore Cottage. The pair has decided to pay for their new home privately to demonstrate that they are financially responsible and upfront about their spending. This is important in a time when royal spending is closely watched and debated. These are ideas that are very important to us right now. People have been highly sensitive about the money that royal palaces make for a long time. There have been times when the sovereign grant, which is the funding source for official duties, and the upkeep of the monarch's official homes, has sparked public debate over the right balance between private wealth and public support for national institutions. When a family chooses to use their own money to pay for their private living arrangements, they are saying something about the lines that separate their private lives from their political duties. One way to look at this choice is that it is an effort to get the present generation of royals to follow the contemporary rules about how to utilize public money. This interpretation is valid even when the choice is coupled with the ongoing acceptance of institutional support for ceremonial duties. The sources say that another interesting thing about the homes being recommended for Forest Lodge is that they don't have any live-in staff. This alternative is a more modern way of living at home that puts privacy, family connection, and a more normal routine for the kids ahead of the more formal retinue-driven household arrangements of previous generations. This pattern involves taking the kids to school, eating meals together, and doing chores around the house together. The decision to do ride of a permanent and large domestic staff is a public declaration that shows a dedication to a more self-sufficient and less hierarchical way of living as a monarch. This choice has effects that go beyond only the practical ones. The move to Forest Lodge is shown to be a physical embodiment of a strategic transition, which is a planned step toward setting up a safe, secluded, and modern base for the future rule. This is what happens when you relocate. Also, the choices that people make in their homes affect how the monarchy interacts with the public on a daily basis. A domestic organization that has been streamlined may indicate a royal family that is less ostentatious and more accessible, prioritizing public engagement above ceremonial grandeur. It shows that they want to show daily family rhythms that might resonate with a wider audience, particularly in a culture that values authenticity and relatability in public figures. This resonance is important for the monarchy to keep its social license. This means that when royals act like families with the same kinds of problems and habits as their people, they can demand empathy and stay relevant. Princess Anne's role is very important for both passing on and understanding this strategic plan. The Princess Royal has been a personification of a disciplined and duty-centered kind of service for a long time. People recognize her for being very committed and hard-working, and she is one of the most dedicated members of the royal family. Throughout her career, she has had a busy schedule full of events and hands-on work with public, military, and charitable groups. People in her family have frequently considered her as a strong follower of the values that her parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, stand for. These traits include being stable, disciplined, and dedicated to duty no matter what. People who know the family well say that Princess Anne has been the main way for her parents to tell her what they want William and Catherine to do in the future as part of the succession process. She is said to have spoken about a set of guiding principles in secret with a small number of royal aides and family members. These rules were more like an informal order than a formal legal document. Elizabeth and Philip had implanted them in their children over the years via family time and advice, especially when they were together at Balmoral and Sandringham. Some people say that these ideas, which were shared via letters and personal discussions, helped shape what people thought the next generation should do to support the monarchy. Princess Anne's comments are often shaped by a strong sense of personal responsibility that she has inherited. Recent public declarations made by the Princess Royal, which people frequently see as signs of anger, are better seen as practical pleas to keep service going, according to experts. In light of William's closeness to Windsor Castle, it was said that she made the comment that it was strange that he hadn't done some of his regular bread-and-butter tasks more often. For example, she said it was strange that he hadn't taken on investigations, which are things that happen a lot at the castle. People spoke a lot about this insight in public. In this context, bread and butter refers to the monarchy's daily duties, such as investitures, local engagements, and ceremonial events that aren't very important, but are still necessary for the institution to keep its ties with communities and charities. People who are close to the Princess Royal said that they don't think her comment was intended to be seen as criticism, but rather as a helping push. This idea comes from the idea that the monarchy has to be seen at these events to keep a good connection with the people. In her perspective, the monarchy's legitimacy and public trust depend on the seemingly ordinary and ongoing task of attending investitures, opening community centers, or presiding over municipal ceremonies. Princess Anne wants a balanced approach that includes both big undertakings that get a lot of attention and everyday royal duties that are done consistently. She is achieving this by getting William to perform these kinds of things more often. As a curator of legacy, Princess Anne is in charge of bridging the gap between various generations. The fact that she is in charge of her parents' strategic thinking gives her the authority to say that she has a feeling of historical importance. She thinks that the move to Forest Lodge was not just a random change in the home, but rather a planned and logical step in a bigger plan that is aimed to assist the crown improve its future. This framing makes it seem like she is actively involved in making sure that the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh's well-thought-out counsel is carried on and turned into useful plans for the next generation. The idea of a mandate from Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip adds a lot of personal interest to what would otherwise be perceived as just bureaucratic planning. Legislative papers like the Act of Settlement of 1701 and other laws that set out rules for who may inherit the British throne and who can become king or queen set the constitutional order of the British monarchy. The legal order is not affected by the personal inclinations of a sovereign. Even still, the fact that two of the most experienced people in recent royal history have apparently supported William and Catherine gives their rising stance moral weight and familial legitimacy. It not only shows that their route was unavoidable under the Constitution, but it also shows that it was the consequence of careful coaching, mentorship, and self-confidence. It is well known that Queen Elizabeth II is good at planning ahead. She learned how to set the institution's long-term course by using private guidance, setting an example for others, and carefully using her influence. Her time as queen was marked by her capacity to keep things the same while still making changes when necessary. Her relationship with Prince William, which began in the wake of a private family tragedy and public pressure, ultimately turned into a mentoring relationship that many biographers say was very important. William's grandmother taught him about stability service and how to behave in public in a way that she thought was necessary to keep the monarchy relevant. This is said to have helped him develop a sense of responsibility and a measured public image. In stories that have circulated among individuals who know the details, Princess Anne says that the Queen's guidance was based on both practical and theological reasons. Elizabeth saw her job as Supreme Governor of the Church of England as having a spiritual side, a sense of divine duty that affected how she felt about the monarchy. People think that she thought the marriage between William and Catherine was a blessing, a union that might modernize the monarchy while yet keeping its important ceremonial and constitutional functions from the past. The Queen's desire for successors who may ground the crown in familial stability and humble public service rather than in conspicuous urban grandeur seems to align with the decision to create a more tranquil family-oriented residence at Windsor. This choice seems to be in line with what the Queen wants. The effect that Prince Philip had on the stated mandate was also very important. The Duke of Edinburgh was an important person in giving advice to the next generation. He was known for being practical and giving severe counsel. William, who learned a lot from Philip, thought their points of view were particularly important because of his life experiences, which included serving in the military, living abroad, and wanting to change the way institutions worked. People don't only argue that Philip's contribution is a question of personal devotion. They see it as important advice on how to strategically keep the monarchy going. People who knew what happened say that he told William to make decisions that were better for the crown in the long run than for himself in the short run. Reports say he was involved in a decision that included the difficult changes that were made to royal families. The Queen, the Duke of Cambridge, and the Duke of Sussex all had their jobs and houses changed in 2019 as an illustration of this decision. This occurrence, which led to public debate and internal reevaluation, illustrated the potential impact of home arrangements on public perception and institutional unity. One illustration of this is the 2019 change in responsibilities and home life within the larger family. This episode showed how important it is to have clear definitions of responsibilities and financial arrangements. Some people who know about the scenario say that these things led to later talks about where and how the future royal family should live and work. Philip's practical view of the world is shown by his ideas for a family house that is privately financed, doesn't have a lot of live-in staff, and is away from the constant attention of the press in central London. Philip's support for a Windsor-based family fits with his long-standing belief in self-sufficiency and practical government. So the mandate that Princess Anne spoke about is best understood as a legacy that Elizabeth and Philip worked on together over many years of quiet conversation and advice. It is given as a set of working concepts that collectively make up a blueprint for the future rule. These themes include a dedication to the monarchy's less glamorous but vital duties, a promise to be honest with money, a simpler public appearance, and a promise to seclusion and home grounding. The couple's choices about where to live and how to raise their family are shown as the real-life examples of these ideals, not just as personal choices about how to live. All of these parts work together to build a plan for a modernized monarchy. This monarchy respects tradition, but changes the rituals and rhythms of royal life to fit with how contemporary society works. There are clear signs that a plan is starting to take shape that aims to create a crown that is seen as relevant, accountable, and aware of the needs of modern British society. These beginnings include the transfer to Forest Lodge, the choices about how to pay for its repair, and the way the family wants to run the place. A major part of the change that is expected to happen is that the royal family will no longer live above the shop, which means they will no longer mostly live in the same London palaces that are used for government work and big state events. According to the current plan, Buckingham Palace and other royal palaces are expected to continue to be used as institutional headquarters and ceremonial spaces. However, if the future monarch chooses to live with their families somewhere else, this would be a big change in culture. In this made-up situation, Forest Lodge would be a private home for the future king and queen where they would run their company. This would help keep the personal and administrative parts of the institution separate. It is offered as a way to make the royal family's private life less mysterious and to ease the stress that comes from having to deal with personal issues while still doing official duties. This distinction is provided in both style and space. The decision to pay for upgrades privately is also a sign of the bigger plan's emphasis on public accountability, which is at the core of the strategy. In a media environment and public discourse more attuned to issues of public spending and institutional privilege, the use of private funds for personal residences serves as a defensive measure against criticism. This shows that they are aware of the financial reality of the people they serve and are prepared to bear the costs of their own comfort. The Wales family's plan is meant to regulate how things look and show the kind of stewardship that the late Queen supported throughout her reign. On top of that, the sovereign grant and other public funds will keep paying for important institutional costs. The Prince and Princess of Wales's public actions have important goals that are just as important as the strategy. Prince William's work, especially the Earthshot competition, which is an environmental innovation competition that reaches all over the world, and his ongoing support for homelessness and mental health issues, show that he is committed to dealing with important current problems in ways that have real effects. Princess Catherine's focused attention on early childhood development, as seen in projects like the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood, addresses fundamental socio-economic challenges that have long-term effects on education, health, and social mobility. These programming choices are in accordance with the mandate's emphasis on meaningful public engagement. They also show how a modern monarchy can utilize its presence to support programs that provide real societal benefits that go beyond ceremonial symbolism. The Earthshot Prize, for example, is meant to be a way to connect symbolic leadership with real-world results. The goal is to get people to come up with ideas that can be expanded and kept up, which will eventually lead to visible environmental advantages. These kinds of projects let members of the royal family get attention and build connections in favor of issues that have numbers attached to them. Catherine's work on young children is also part of an evidence-based agenda. Instead of only supporting programs, it focuses on research policy discussion and community-based initiatives. People like cause-led leadership better where royal patronage helps current activities instead of taking the place of long-term public policy work. This tendency is seen in both ways. Instead of calling for the end of tradition, the plan advises finding a new balance between visible innovation and the regular performance of civic and ceremonial duties. The importance of ritualized actions as links between the crown and local communities is underscored by the fact that Princess Anne told Prince William to take on bread-and-butter duties like investitures. Even while these mundane tasks may not be as exciting as initiatives that attract a lot of attention, they nonetheless help the monarch do his or her job of recognizing civic accomplishments and making sure he or she is present all around the country. The envisioned reign aims to establish a synthesis, innovative, issue-oriented leadership, executed with the ongoing fulfillment of conventional community-centered duties. The way modern media works also supports this strategic realignment, which makes its rationale much stronger. In this day and age, when every public act is instantly enlarged, changed, and distributed via social media, it is becoming increasingly crucial to control the story and how information is presented. William and Catherine can keep the paparazzi and public criticism at bay by setting up their family life at Windsor. This protects them to some extent from a news cycle that is mostly about London. Their more modest and planned family arrangements go against the idea of aristocratic detachment. This is in accordance with what most people want in leaders: honesty, humility, and a feeling of shared ideals. This view says that Forest Lodge is not simply a place to live, but also a symbolic statement. It shows that people like substance more than spectacle service, more than ceremonial excess, and normality at home more than institutional theater. It is now quite clear that the monarchy's future depends a lot on how people see the institution as legitimate and valuable. This is shown by the way people's feelings toward the monarchy have changed over time, as seen by surveys and conversations among different demographic groups. Younger people in particular really want to see transparency and impact. Certain people could say that a house that puts more value on private family life financial responsibility and concentrated public activities is better at connecting with certain groups of people. The reverse is also accurate. Any sign of excess or isolation may quickly destroy goodwill and fuel political debates over the role of the monarchy. This risk assessment is crucial to the mindset attributed to the deceased monarch and her council. Their purpose was to maintain the monarchy's symbolic capital by making sure that its public image matched what was normal in society at the time. The decision to create a family life in Windsor is not only based on institutional criteria, but also has emotional importance. William's youth was forever changed by the very public breakup of his parents' marriage and the sad death of Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1997. This is important to keep in mind while thinking about the Wales family's transfer. These two things happened in the same year. His protective nature toward his family and his careful way of interacting with the media were both affected by the things that happened to him while he was growing up. People have also been very interested in Catherine, starting with the early days of their courtship and continuing through the hard parts of being a mother, and more recent times when her health has been a concern that some people have thought was a public matter. These personal journeys have made them very aware of the possible effects of unmediated exposure, and they want to create a home that reduces the stress they have felt personally. The sense that a new chapter is beginning has been made even stronger by the deaths of Prince Philip in 2021 and Queen Elizabeth II in 2022, which were both very sad events for the whole family. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's well-known breakup, together with deaths like this one, have made the emotional atmosphere very difficult, with sadness, obligation, and strained connections. When you look at it this way, the approval of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip means more. During a time of personal and institutional transition for William and Catherine, their support, which they received via private conversations, letters, and family guidance, was a comforting and stable assurance. William realized that his grandmother's confidence was a comforting anchor in the middle of the chaos that surrounded both his public life and his private grief. People say that her guidance made him more sure that it is vital to make the monarchy a social institution based on family life and public service. The mandate was proof to Catherine that she was more than simply a wife. She was also a co-architect of the institution's destiny. It was a sign of how well she could connect with the general population in a manner that was kind, educated, and constant. Prince Philip also taught them how to make the kids feel protected, which was quite helpful. He got this sense since he had a lot of experience and knew the dangers that come with being a monarch. Windsor's remote location and high degree of safety made it a good place for both the formation of a strong family culture and the protection of certain people. So moving to Windsor permanently means both a planned change of feelings and a planned change of position for the person. It gives the Wales family an opportunity to start new routines and traditions, which are little things they do every day, including taking the kids to school, having informal family meals, and doing chores together. These habits and customs may help people deal with the stress of public life. Some people in Windsor have expressed worries about the increased security presence and the possible effects of a more permanent royal home there. However, the main goal of the design is still to ensure the health of the royal family and the long-term stability of the monarchy. The individuals who are supporting the project see Forest Lodge as a safe place to live. They think of it as a location where families may spend time together and slowly build up and practice their civic duties. When all of these things are put together, the story of royal transition changes. The Prince and Princess of Wales made public programming choices, moved their residence and redesigned it, and gave a secret mandate. People don't perceive the move to Forest Lodge as just a question of convenience or wanting to be alone. They see it as a planned step in the growth of the monarchy that had been planned for a long time. In this sense, it is the foundation of a new royal era that two of the most knowledgeable and respected people in the institution carefully planned. The approach aims to create a 21st-century monarchy that maintains its historical ties while also meeting modern needs for relatability, accountability, and meaningful public participation. William and Catherine are in charge of the monarchy as part of this plan. People think that the Wales family is laying the groundwork for a rule that values honesty and frugality above ceremonial extravagance. This is because they have decided to live as a family in Windsor, pay for improvements themselves, and make things easier at home by not having a lot of workers living there. The insiders say that this way of doing things shows how strong the late Queen's faith was and how practical Prince Philip is in the contemporary world. It values resilience, relevance, and family stability more than it does grandeur that hasn't been looked into at all. Princess Anne's role as the organization's communicator of this tradition gives the approach both credibility and historical continuity. Her leadership emphasizes that the shift is not a spectacular rejection of the institution's heritage, but rather a deliberate intergenerational transfer of a holy trust that was passed down in private council and is now being carried out via careful judgments. It is the first real sign of a coronation plan that has been passed down through the years and developed at Windsor. The Wales family's move to Forest Lodge shows that the monarchy is changing. It is a monarchy that wants to change via cautious, well-thought-out choices instead of sudden breaks. When the Wales family moves to their property in Windsor, they are doing more than just changing their address. They are taking on a role and going to a location that was created on design to be the stage for the future of the crown. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.